record.
Awesome.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good. I like your background.
Thanks.
Very
I, I'm actually on campus right now, and this building's really ugly, so I thought I'd put some nature behind me.
okay. That's actually a good idea.
I'm so excited.
Me too. You have a very interesting chart. It's very playful, but it's also very strong. So I think that you will enjoy it.
Awesome. I'm so excited to get a professional reading because, there's always different perspectives on people's lives, and it's good to have different viewpoints and different perceptions of personality and I guess
Yeah,
these
yeah,
topics.
definitely. And I feel like this is going to help you understand more about yourself. And if you don't mind, it would be nice to share it also with the world, just so other people can also, maybe we can help others and create a community where we just help each other out in understanding our purpose in this life and who we are and why we behave certain ways and the energies that we attract, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Perfect. So I'm going to start out with, there's a Freudian theory, which is, so it's practically called the id, the ego, and the superego.
Okay.
So you have to kind of see it as if like, so for example, the horse, so let's just say you have a horse. The horse is your ego, it is your true self, you're the horse. The direction the horse is going towards is the rising, the ascendant. So it tells you where the horse is directing towards. And then the moon, which is the id, which is practically, it gives the impulsivity to the horse to decide where to direct itself. So it is like that impulsivity, it is that drive that leads that horse to want to go towards a certain direction.
Gotcha.
So in your case, the direction that you are going towards, so the how you are first impression, also how you want others to perceive you to be. So in social circumstances, in work, when you first get to know somebody, when somebody truly gets, when somebody just gets to know you, you have the energy of a Virgo. So the Virgo is a very quiet, shy, more introverted energy. So first impression, when people meet you, they're going to see you as very introverted.
Okay.
Okay, so
I
then,
don't think I'm introverted at all, but
exactly.
maybe that's my first impression.
Exactly. So this is like first impression, but then once somebody really gets to know you, so the horse, who is summer,
Mm.
when they get to know you, you're on the cusp, which means you're a blend of two energies. So your sun sign is a blend between Pisces and Aries. So the Pisces is going to be an emotional, it's a water sign. So it's going to be an emotional based sign. And then the Aries is going to be a very different energy. So it's going to be fire. It's a fire sign. So it's going to be, it's going to stand up for what it wants. It's going to be determined. It's going to be a little bit more selfish, maybe as well. And so the interesting part is the fact that you're actually, because you're 0 degrees Aries, you're actually closer to being an Aries than a Pisces.
Gotcha. Yeah, see, I always read the astrology books, and they always say Aries is like very selfish. But I don't think that I'm very selfish at all. I think I'm actually like a very giving and loving person. Why do you think that is?
So each sign, there's a low and high vibrational version for each sign. So the low vibrational version of an example in Aries is going to be stubborn. It's going to be selfish. So in general, fire signs are more selfish than other signs. So the Aries is going to, it is also sort of like the wanting to conquest sign. So it'll have that energy of like, I want to get what I want. This is the low vibrational version of an Aries. And obviously, when you transcend that energy and you become conscious, the high vibrational version is going to be loving, it's going to be generous, it's going to be compassion, it's going to be the high vibrational versions of an Aries. So that's probably why you see that, because you have already transcended into that high vibrational version of that energy, which is actually a very, it's, you know, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So once you sort of become more aware and you're, I guess, like conscious, as you say,
Yes. Once
you
you,
kind of have exhibit more positive qualities of the sign rather than the negative qualities.
yes, exactly. And this is why consciousness, self-awareness is very important, because it manifests with every energy that's in your chart. So your goal, so this chart is meant for it to be a tool in order to guide you on this in your incarnation, in this journey. So what your goal is to know who you are through this chart, through your chart, and then know how to transcend all those energies, even the tougher ones, into the high vibrational version.
Okay. So I have to kind of be aware of these maybe negative qualities in order to work on them.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And so
Cool.
that's the beauty of knowing thyself, which is, you know, being able to go inwards to yourself, to be able to know yourself, and to then also learn eventually to accept other people and their energies and where they are on their journey.
Wow. That's really beautiful.
And so when you drop into your moon, which is the energy that manifests when you're in a vulnerable state, it is the energy of impulsivity, it is when you get into a conflict with somebody. In that moment, you have a very playful energy because it's in Sag. And so a Sagittarius as a moon is going to be a very light, playful, as I mentioned, energy. The only thing with as I mentioned, each energy can be a low or a high vibrational version. The low vibrational version of a Sag is going to be jumping from one experience to the other and maybe not going into the depths of that experience. So just wanting to accumulate tons of experiences and just tons of different situations. And so there might also be an excess of wanting that freedom, wanting to over exceed certain parts of your life, let's just say. So you might drink too much when you go out, or you know, you might get into, I don't know, you might want too much freedom, or you might want too much of something. And so it's obvious, again, that working of the fact that you need to learn how to transcend and know that that's how it may be. And so to maybe find more of a balance in your life.
I think that's very true. I do like to have fun all the time. But you say like too much. How do I know it's too much? You know,
When it's, you know, when after you go drinking, you feel really bad the next day. You feel really shitty.
mm-hmm.
When
Not
you
taking
aren't
care of
taking care
myself.
of yourself, exactly. When you aren't taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
It's always important in the spiritual space to always try and find the balance in all facets of your life. And so that's the the learning lesson of the Sag moon is to learn how to find balance.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's a nice energy though, because it allows you to move on more than it would be if you had a water subconscious, because the moon is your subconscious. It is the deepest parts of your being. And so to have that Sag moon is going to bring out a little bit of conflict, fire, especially in relationships. Bless you.
Thank you. Oh yeah, that's for sure.
And so, you know, it's also going to be a moving forward type of energy. So it's going to be, it's not going to constantly think of the past. It's going to be, okay, let's move on.
It's like, thank you, next.
Exactly. You can definitely tell, like, look at the energy you have right now. Look at the smile and the bubbliness that you have as an energy. And that's
Right.
Sag moon.
Okay. Nice. I always thought maybe there was something wrong with me. He's like, oh, you're always so smiley. And I'm like, yeah, so that's just me.
That's a beautiful thing. That's part of who you are. That's part of your energies. And it's actually supposed to help you on your journey. Like you chose these energies. So prior to this incarnation, you chose these energies to help you out, navigate in your incarnation, in your journey.
Interesting. So, question.
Yeah.
You say that I've chosen these energies. What would be some reasons why I chose these energies?
So it depends. So a half Pisces, a half Aries, a Sag, it would probably be, so if you get into the depths of your chart, your most dominant energy is in the relationship space. So your biggest growing lessons in this incarnation is going to be through relationships. And so maybe this fire that you have a lot of fire, is supposed to help you learn certain lessons in the relationship space. So you have your sun half Aries and half Pisces, which means, and it is in the 7th house, which is partnership, it's marriage. It just means that you're going to probably attract a lot of fire signs. So Aries, Leo, or Sag. And B, it means that when you do attract these fire signs, it's going to push you into learning lessons, but you're going to have that fire sign that you're going to have to be able to control. You're going to have to learn how to control that. And so maybe it's telling you, Summer, in this incarnation, I want you to learn how to balance that manifestation of the fire energy. I want you to be able to control your emotions when you're in a relationship and not explode and not make it about me, but make it more about the other person.
Okay. So maybe that can also kind of tie into the Aries on like that selfishness a little bit.
Yes.
Like considering the other person more.
Yes. It's fundamental because the Aries is going to be constantly about themselves. And so this incarnation is asking Summer to manifest the opposite of that energy, which is let me be patient. Let me take care of the person I'm with in a partnership. Let me show love, compassion. Let me take care of their needs more than mine.
Yeah.
Are you in a relationship, Summer?
I am.
Okay. What's his sign?
He's a Sag.
Okay, so there you go, attracting fire.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely you're going to attract especially a Sag because your moon, as I mentioned, your subconscious is in Sagittarius. So usually that's a good complementary to the male sun Sag. So a male Sagittarius is going to be, you're going to attract male Sagittarius especially because of that subconscious.
Okay. Cool.
So, so yeah, so you have a Sag relationship, so that's going to do well. Astrologically, I would define you to be compatible with his sun sign. Um, so how's the relationship? How's it going?
It's going better. We've had a rocky history, and I think it was me not really being that involved in the relationship. I was very kind of nonchalant, and I feel like he was kind of like falling for me a lot, like before I had fallen for him. And
Okay.
then we kind of had like this falling out, and then now it's like opposite. Now I feel like I'm more falling for him, and he's kind of like gotten over me a little bit, and now it's like this chase between the two of us.
Yeah.
um
That's going to be the manifestation of you wanting to constantly learn lessons in the relationship space. So
gotcha.
when you feel as if the relationship is stagnating, so when you feel the relationship, nothing's, you can't learn anything from the relationship, then you're going to get tired of it because
Mm-hmm.
your default energy is going to be more of an independent, more of a sort of freedom type of energy. You're going to want to be more independent. And so when the relationship gets still like stagnated, then, and you're not learning lessons, then you're going to stop having that sort of feeling of, oh, I want to be with this person.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like in this relationship, maybe I am learning like a few things. But I do feel like it is like just a very fun, light kind of relationship. Like we do things together. Now we're kind of like being our own, like two separate people working on our own things. Like, um, but we do come together and we're just, trying to make the best of it, and, just kind of like living in the moment type of thing.
Yeah, this energy.
But I am interested to see what specific lessons that I will be learning. Um,
Yeah. Are you guys having any struggles currently, or because the Sag
yeah,
is going to be like an energy that's going to want to, as you mentioned, they're going to want to have a lot of experiences together. They're going to want to travel. They're going to be very light together. They're going to be very social, easygoing. Um, so I'm just curious to know because in this relationship there are lessons probably that you want to learn if you feel
mhm,
constantly wanting to be or in the relationship. So
mhm. Yeah, okay, I'll spill the beans.
tell me.
um, so I think there has been lack of communication in the past. And so now, having learned another lesson in a previous relationship, so I do get what you're saying about learning lessons in relationships. I think I do that all the time.
Okay. So you see
Um,
the pattern.
I do see a pattern there. There's always something. I do feel like every relationship that I've had in my life has came to me at the right time, like right when I needed it.
Okay.
And there's been like a progression. I feel like there is always something that I'm gaining. So my last relationship, I was very dishonest.
I
I think
see.
I wasn't being true to myself. I think I was just like, oh, everybody else is doing this, everybody else cheats and everybody else lies, so it's okay if I do it because everybody else is doing it.
Okay.
And I think I kind of had a revelation where I'm like, no, like I want to be truthful, I want to be real, I want to have deep meaning and really get to know a person. Because if you're lying to each other, then you're not learning about that person. You don't know who they are.
Yes, very true.
So I'm trying to implement that into this relationship now, is to be open and honest and transparent with each other. And I think he's kind of struggling to reveal himself to me.
Okay, so a couple of things on that. So the Pisces energy, the low manifestation, the low vibration of a Pisces energy is going to cheat. It is a cheating type of energy, the low vibrational version. But they're going to cheat if they don't get their emotional needs met. So the Aries is going to cheat for conquest. The Pisces is going to cheat for the fact that they don't emotionally feel as if they're being considered enough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. So that's probably why when you're younger, you had more of that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sag isn't an energy that's going to talk about himself. It is not an energy that's going to naturally want to go inwards and talk about themselves. It is an outward type of energy. So as I mentioned prior, it's going to be a lot of experiences, a lot of ideas, but it's going to be more ideas about the outside world, about, you know, for example, what do you think of this situation? What do you think of, I don't know, the COVID situation? It's going to be a lot of those conversations, but the Sag struggles to go inwards, so to talk about themselves. So that may be a struggle that you may be encountering just with that type of energy.
Yeah.
And so it would be important. And you're also,
Okay.
you have your moon in the third house. Third house is the house of communication. So it means that you're going to want to constantly talk about the truth. You're going to want to have a lot of, like, you need the truth. And it is in Sag.
Wow.
So it just means that your subconscious is always like, I need to communicate. I need to talk about the truth. And so when you have that energy towards a Sagittarius, which isn't used to talking about themselves, this may create a little bit of, it's going to be a very different energy. And so you'll need to slowly, with love and compassion and patience, so maybe that's the lesson you need to learn, which is patience, slowly make him open up, be ready to fully want to open up.
Yeah. I do need patience.
Definitely patience.
Spot on, Joanna.
Yeah. Patience may be one of the lessons that you may be seeking to learn in this incarnation. Just because, you know, there's a whole definition of young soul and old soul. So your soul, all souls were created at the same time. But certain souls have evolved more than others, depending on how many lessons they've learned in this incarnation or in all their incarnations. So, for example, a younger soul maybe needs to learn a lesson around how do I pay bills, or how do I learn how to take care of a child. It's going to be, or how do I learn even just it's going to have a simple life. It's going to have more of, let me go to work, let me come back home, let me feed myself. I need to, you know, just like a simpler life. But when you start packing up more experiences, then you tend to start becoming, you're going to have more wisdom, and you're not going to want to learn the lesson of, you know, how do I feed myself? I don't have food. I need to find food. It's going to be more difficult lessons. It's going to be more complex lessons. So it's going to force you, because life is in constant motion. So you're here to learn lessons. And so the universe is going to continuously force you in some way through your journey to learn the lessons that you decided prior to the incarnation to learn. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So basically, I may not have to figure out how to feed myself. I've kind of naturally been always like a hustler. I've always been able to get extra money, and you know, I don't have any debt, like really serious debt like a lot of Americans do.
Exactly.
But you know, I'm still learning lessons regardless. They just not might be like the basic necessities of life.
Exactly. So you may be needing to learn the lesson. You may have decided prior to this incarnation, your soul decided, I want to learn the lesson of patience. How do I learn this lesson of patience? I'm going to choose to put my dominant energy in the 7th house, which is partnerships and relationships. I'm going to meet a fire sign that's going to, maybe a Sag, and that's going to force me to learn this specific lesson.
Yeah. I can see it more and more now that you keep saying it, like patience, patience, patience too, because he has a daughter, and in the beginning of their relationship, she is a lot to handle. She is a little firecracker. She's very moody. She's very hyper. It's just always like this, ooh, and I'm like, oh my God, like I've never been around kids before. I don't know how to handle it. I think she's a Virgo, but she's very young, and she just has a lot of energy.
Okay.
And so I didn't know how to handle that, and so I think she's been testing my patience a lot. But I'm getting better and better at being around her. Kind of just I'm realizing, kids, they just want love. If you just show them love and attention, then that's gonna make them happy. So I think I'm also learning a little bit of patience from this child as well.
Okay, so you do feel it. You do.
Yeah.
And a Pisces is very intuitive because they feel that, so the source, or whatever you want to define a God, the energy that created us all, that created the universe, the Pisces is the closest one to feeling that energy. So if it's in a high vibrational manifestation of a Pisces, they'll have full-on contact with the energy that created this universe. And so that's maybe why you have that intuition that will be one of your assets in this incarnation, in your life. It'll be your asset to intuitively understand what is the direction forward, what lesson you may need to be learning in each moment of your life, in each important part of your life. So maybe prior you needed to learn the lesson of honesty, and now you're transitioning into a different lesson, and your intuition will tell you, okay, it's probably this. It could possibly be this. And so maybe that's why now you're also understanding better what the lesson may be. Can you hear me?
And the help of you for reassuring. Yes, the internet's a little laggy.
Okay.
But we do need other people to kind of reassure ourselves, because these are all things that maybe I've thought about subconsciously, but you saying it kind of like reassures me, like, okay, like this is what I need to do.
Exactly. And this is why I think it's so important to talk about these things, because I feel like so many young people our age may feel different. They may feel they don't understand certain things in their life. And if they just had a perspective around it, a spiritual perspective, they would be able to accept more all that's happening in their life, the good and the bad.
Yeah. I know. I see so many people struggle, and you're scrolling through like your Instagram stories and stuff, and some people, they kind of post like their problems and stuff like that, and I always feel so bad. I always try to like at least send them like some loving words, or that's why I try to like repost things that are kind of about being mindful and trying not to stress, and just kind of like going through life, and it's okay to kind of reinvent yourself over and over and over again. Like, don't stress about that.
Yeah.
I think it's important. And I feel like we are, like collectively, like younger people, I think we are kind of moving more towards like spirituality in a sense.
Yes. The younger generations are actually transitioning into the next phase, which is to find to be a more spiritual phase. So all the generations that are occurring now are actually going to be that transition into more of that spiritual energy rather than that physical, dense sort of this life, let's just say, of the physical world. It's going to be more of the spiritual world. Maybe that's also why there's more conversations around this part of life, which hasn't really been it hasn't been really integrated in the past as a serious discussion.
Yeah. I think also like the invention of the internet might have helped us a lot to kind of like become more connected and learn more things, and it's more easy to share information with other people.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important for us young people like you and I to just have the confidence to just share and to help others with light and love, which is the reason why we're here as well, is to be that energy, that positive energy.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so your chart is, so you have, do you want to talk about the good parts or more of the struggling parts of your chart?
Struggles. I need to know the struggles.
So first one is you have, so you have two planets that are very tough planets in your fourth house. So the fourth house is family, so it's the home.
Okay.
So you have the planet of volatility and the planet of delusion. So Neptune is the blinding sort of energy. Neptune doesn't allow you to see things clearly, which means in your past, in your childhood, in the family, there may have been moments where you weren't able to see things clearly for what they really were. And this might have, it's next to the planet of volatility, which means it has to do probably with just a very tough upbringing, a very volatile childhood.
That is crazy that it says that in my chart.
It literally has these only two planets in the fourth house.
Yeah. Okay.
So you might have had this tough upbringing, this tough childhood, that may have been another lesson that needed to force you to grow, to go through this volatile childhood, to then understand that there's I have to move on. To make you become a little bit also more understanding and have more compassion for the sufferings of others, to make you a little bit more close to the suffering of the world. And so maybe having this struggle in the family may have been that, because you see a lot of families, I mean, a lot of kids that are born in really like easygoing, loving families, they don't learn the same lessons as those who maybe have had a more challenging family.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the times it's because your mission in this incarnation is something greater.
Mm-hmm.
It is forcing you to have more of that understanding of the suffering of others in order to then help them in whatever way that manifests in your future life.
Yeah, or like break the cycle.
Yes, also.
Because so many kids they grow up in like terrible households, and then they go and they repeat the same mistakes that their parents made.
Exactly.
When really they should be like elevating higher and being like, no, like I'm not going to do this, which a lot of people still do. They're like, oh, I'm going to have a kid so that way I can raise them the opposite of what my parents did. Or
yes. Also, it's going to come obviously with a lot of traumas that may manifest in your relationships, it may manifest in your life. So it's important to also do a lot of work on yourself so self-development, trauma release. I have a resource if you're interested. He's
Yes.
practicing miraculous healing. So if
Okay.
you're interested, we can try and see if we can do something for that.
Okay. Cool.
But you seem like, how did that, how do you feel about those energies? Do you feel like you overcome the struggles of your childhood?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have made good progress. I was going to therapy a lot during this quarantine and prior to the quarantine. Uh, and just kind of like, I don't even know what she did. She just asked me questions that were bringing back memories of my childhood that I had maybe suppressed. And I'm like, oh yeah, and there was that. Oh yeah, and there was that. And then I was like, I always thought I had such a great childhood, but then she asked me like the deep questions, and I'm like, no, I think that was all just kind of like a cover up to cover up the like emotional abuse that I was put through and the volatility. And you know, for every like negative, I feel like there was always like a positive to kind of try to cover up that negative. And so she like really like brought out a lot of that, and I cried, I released emotions. And you know, I've been thinking about it. I've been trying to work on my family relationships a little bit. I don't know if I don't know if I'm fully complete, because there's still things that I want to talk to my mother about. I'm kind of like slowly trying to pull information out of my mother and getting her to admit, oh, just like my boyfriend, trying to talk about the truth and talk about the hard, deep emotional truth, and just trying to bring it out of them. And maybe that's in my sign, and it's all coming to me right now. This is crazy.
What's your mom's sign?
She's an Aries too.
Okay. So the Aries is going to struggle. So you have so much energy in wanting the truth, wanting to communicate about the truth in your life. And so it's funny because your relationship is a Sagittarius. So it's not because he doesn't want to tell the truth. It's just not natural to him. The Aries will tell you the truth, but the truth is going to be sort of, it's not going to be the truth. The Aries is going to sugarcoat into it being about themselves. So they're going to try and make it in a way, obviously we're talking about the low vibrational energy of the Aries. It's going to be, okay, I'm going to tell you what I want you to think the truth is. It's not going to be the actual truth, the one that you're seeking for. And so, you know, obviously you'll have to understand where your mom's energy is, if she's a high vibrational Aries or a low vibrational energy.
Yeah.
But that's definitely going to be, it's going to lead you to go back to what we just said, to just patience.
Yeah.
To just have patience and to accept where everybody is in their journey, because they can't see what you see if they're not ready. It just means they're younger souls. It means that they need more incarnations, more experiences in their life to get to that point where they've learned the lessons that you've learned.
Okay.
Maybe your mom, she needs to learn the lesson of honesty. And it may not be in this incarnation. It may be in the next one. And so that's why compassion, love, and acceptance for where your mom is in her journey is the best way to get through the relationship with your mother.
Yeah, I could see her really struggling to learn that lesson in this incarnation, but I do know she loves me like so much. So maybe like looking back at this life that she's had and just being like, wow, you know, I loved her so much, but I couldn't give this to her. Maybe that'll like push her to do better in the next life. I don't know.
Yeah, planting seeds. You know, being the influence that you want others to be. So you be that positive, beautiful, loving energy. And that is the best way that you'll help your mother resonate with an energy that may not be hers, but she'll, it's planting seeds. It's you being that energy that you want others to be. That is the best way. So, you know, your mom, obviously there's acceptance, so your mom may never understand, but it's, you know, what can I do? I can only control myself. And so if I'm that influence, if I'm that good energy, then eventually, you know, because we're energetic beings, your mom will feel that energy. And that may lead her to want to slowly transition into a higher vibrational of herself. And if that's not the case, then that's okay as well. It's okay as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like how do you teach a dog to learn math if they're not ready?
Yeah.
They're not going to
They
learn
don't have
math.
the capacity.
They don't have the consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the intellect, it's not the physical, it's the soul, it's the consciousness, it's the awareness of themselves. Your mother may not have the capacity to have awareness of herself. And so that consciousness may not be, she's asleep, she may be asleep. And so how can you awaken something that's not there to begin with? How can you explain to her things that she's not ready to hear? And that's why the best thing you can do is be in acceptance. And it may hurt because she's your mother, you know, it may hurt, but at the same time, it made you become the person that you are now. It made you become the Summer that is learning all these lessons, is joyous, happy, bubbly, is going through her life and is just like, wow, you know? It's like, look at you.
Aww.
It's
You're
so
so
true.
sweet. But
Really
yeah, my aunt always tells me all the time. She's always like, you're no longer a survivor. You're now becoming a warrior because you have to live, or because we've lived through such traumatic, lives, both of us. And now we're kind of like having these spiritual conversations and like wanting to work on ourselves. And we're no longer just surviving. Now we're like fighting this fight of life. And, so it's great. And I wish that more and more people around us would do the same.
This is why this is so important. Because then your children, another Summer, not her name's not going to be Summer, but another 24-year-old girl who is in your same situation, you don't want her to get into alcohol. You don't want to get into the low vibrational energies of destroying herself because she may not understand the reasons around why she went through so much suffering. And the only way is by giving her a different perspective about her life, is by sharing this, the human side of life, of our lives, of who we really are. There's so much conflict in the world. There's so much suffering. And it just takes more awareness, takes more consciousness. People need to become more conscious.
Okay.
I'm very happy we talked about this because this can be really helpful for others as well. And so, so moving on to, if you want to know a little bit more, you also have another interesting placement, which is you have actually a wound, which is, it is sort of, wound is pain. It is a trauma or a struggle. And it's in your 12th house, which is the subconscious. So it is past life traumas. So past incarnation traumas.
Okay.
So this may lead to some sort of karmic debt,
Mm-hmm.
which just means in this incarnation, there may be a moment of challenge or struggle that may need you to clear out that debt from past incarnations.
Okay. So how would I know for sure what this is?
Um, it depends. You may put yourself, for example, in a karmic relationship.
Mm.
So in a relationship where there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of conflict. And so also because of your past traumas, but it's also because of your past life traumas. So past incarnation traumas. And so it's just telling you, Summer, you know, there you may be put into a very challenging relationship. And in order to clear out this debt, you need to continue to go through it. You need to learn from it and continue being that high vibrational manifestation of the energies that love, compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's sort of the idea around a karmic debt.
Right. So especially because I'm in the relationship, my son is in the house of relationships, that it's more likely that I'm gonna be learning it through a relationship.
Yes. Your biggest growth, your biggest learning lessons are going to be in relationships.
Yeah.
You have a placement for workaholic. So you're going to be thinking a lot about your job. But your biggest growth lessons is going to be through the relationships and learning how to control your opinions, you know, learning how to, you have Mars, which is the planet of the fighting for being heard, but towards the 11th house, which is community, it is to a greater audience. So it's going to be, I want my opinions to be heard to a greater audience. So I want to be heard.
Okay.
It's sort of that energy. And since you have a lot of fire, it's going to come out in a very strong way. Like you might come out with your own opinions that may be very determined and strong to be heard almost.
Okay.
And so, as I mentioned prior, there's still that work of learning how to accept where everybody is in their journey and to understand that if you say something, they may still not understand it. That you may have the truth within you, but you have to accept that truth may not be understood from the other person just because they're not ready to hear the truth in that moment.
Okay. Wow, yeah. So this is something that I can possibly see like in the future. I don't think I'm going through this lesson just yet. But yeah, I will keep that in mind. And especially like we've been talking about like my truth right now. I'm kind of like learning, going through these lessons of communicating, at least with my boyfriend and my mother, and speaking this truth so I can see like later, after learning these lessons, trying to maybe help a wider audience or trying to speak my truth to other people who might need to hear it.
Exactly. This is exactly, so as I mentioned, you're still going to always want a little bit of, you have the energy of workspace. So the intellect wants to be in a work environment, but it's next to Saturn.
Oh.
Which just means that you may feel a little bit restricted, in a way of saying that you may not, this may not be what truly can allow you to help others. This may not be the calling for you to truly feel like you are passionate and you're really helping the world the way you want to. It may feel a little bit closed, restricted. It may feel a little bit too more like a sort of society, physical world type of living, which is 9 to 9-to-5 job at a company or for some sort of organization, but it's not gonna make you feel fulfilled. It's not gonna bring you the joy that you may need into wanting to help others in their journey. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I could see that. Like right now I'm in the science field, and I'm funded through the government, so I can maybe see like maybe gaining experience and enjoying my learning experience through this sort of work student relationship, but maybe uh, it's not going to help me achieve what I really want to achieve.
Yeah, and that's why maybe you're constantly in that space, but you may at times not feel like that's fulfillment. Your soul might not feel fulfilled.
Okay.
You may be seeking something more, which is how do I even, it might have to do with science, or it might have to do with a connection with science, but it's going to be, to, it's actually conjunction. I want to help others, not just have a 9-to-5 job. It's how do I then transition to, I want to influence the world. I want to influence my community in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. I mean, I know saving the planet is a big job, but that's really important to me, and that's why I'm in this like environmental
Okay.
biology like sort of field, because I really do care about helping environmental issues that
Okay.
we face on a
So that
day-to-day
could be
basis.
it.
So maybe I just have to try to figure out some way to get my message across to a wider audience rather than just doing the science and just doing the work and
Exactly.
you know.
You're not going to be one of those people. It's not going to fulfill you to just do the job. So, to be maybe a teacher where you work every single day and you do the same thing. It's going to be, I want to do something. I want to help the world in some way. It's not going to be just, I'm going to just do my PhD and just continue studying and learning. It's then how do I then influence the world with my opinions, with my truth around the about what I believe is the best way to live in this world, through the environmental challenges and through sort of like the climate change situation as well.
Yeah.
But this will come with time. You'll
Yeah.
eventually
Could be
realize.
totally off. Who knows? But yeah, at least that's the concept.
Yeah, that's the concept. But yeah, those. Oh, and then the last placement that you have is you have Venus, which is the planet of, it's the flirt planet, it's the feminine. So your Venus is in the 5th house, which is playfulness, creativity, and it is in Aquarius. Aquarius is an unconventional sign. So it's going to want to find different ways. It's going to be out of the box way of being. So to have that placement, it means you're going to want to sexually express yourself in a very playful and a very unconventional way. You're going to be very sexual. You're going to be sexuality that's very playful. It's very unconventional. So that's obviously going to then influence your relationship's going to have to be a little bit unconventional as well. And you're going to be more of the flirt. You're going to, want to socialize with different people, but also in a flirty way. But it doesn't mean that you're seeking more from it. It's just part of your energy. It's part of your being.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, my last relationship was like constantly pointing things out to me that I never even realized. He's like, "Oh, you're giving that person over there flirty eyes, or you're talking to them in a flirtatious way." And I'm like, "No, I'm just nice. I'm just being like, my bubbly self." He's like, "Well, no, they're seeing it as flirty." And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Yes."
Yeah, that may, that may like your relationships may struggle with that energy if they don't understand it.
Yeah, that
Make
kind of
you
sucks
feel
because
good.
I don't want to make my significant other feel uncomfortable.
I guess,
So,
as you said, communication.
mhm,
So, in a loving, kind way, just to communicate to your
mhm,
partner that this is your intentions aren't furthermore than to just, this is your nature, to just be a little bit more easygoing around people around you, a little bit more
mhm,
flirtatious, that there's nothing beyond that. It's just your way of manifesting joy and happiness and beauty with other people. You know, it's like
mhm.
you see the beauty in men and women. You see, you know, you enjoy that sort of energy of flirtiness, of easygoingness, of it's a nice energy. I think it's just the communication that you're gonna have to work on in just letting them know, to reassure them, especially if they have traumas, especially
Mhm.
if they're not used to this energy, to just reassure them that that's just, if there's nothing beyond that,
Right.
that you love,
Okay.
that you love your partner, and that you would never want to get to a degree where you do something with somebody else, sort of that energy.
That's good advice.
Yeah, pretty much what I see in your chart. Do you have any questions, any doubts?
No, I mean, this is really spot on, like 100%
You
spot
wait, give
on
it a
the
second.
conversations that we've had. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
You're
I
doing
mean,
really well, Summer.
thank you.
You really are.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, I mean, this is a lot to digest. I'm gonna rewatch this video and I'll probably watch it like 3 times and really like take in all of the advice that you've given me
Perfect.
because sometimes we forget, sometimes we just live our lives and we go on autopilot and we're just living the life that we've always lived and we forget to stop and think and, oh, that's a red flag or this is a green flag. I'm going to follow that green flag. Um,
And just remember that throughout your journey, you will know when it's the right direction, when you feel joy, happiness, when you feel like you want to be the best version of you, when you feel like you want to be the highest vibrational energies of your placements. When you start feeling stressed out, or um, when you start feeling just the opposite of that, so it's more of like a depressed state almost, when you feel that energy, then you understand that that's not the direction intended. You still have free will, which just means you can still choose what direction you want to go towards in your life, but you'll know when it's the right, it's when it's the chosen, your soul's pre-incarnated choice of journey, when you feel that excitement, that joy of what you're doing. So for
yeah.
example, when I do these readings, I feel excitement, I feel joy.
Oh.
So I know that this is my calling.
Hmm.
So you kind of just have to see it in a way, in that perspective. Just think, does this relationship, obviously there's, moments of you're learning lessons, so there are moments of volatility, but in the long term, does this relationship bring me joy? Does it bring me more happiness? Um, do I enjoy spending my time with this person? And so that will be sort of like your intuition guiding you towards the journey that you're meant to be. That's meant
Hmm.
to be.
Nice. Yeah, I just have to pay attention to the signs, pay attention to my heart, my feelings, and kind of gravitate towards the higher vibrational
Always,
feelings.
always. And it's okay if you go back down to the low vibrational.
Yeah.
That's okay as well. It's okay. We all have, it's polarity. Cold wouldn't
Hmm.
exist without warmth. Love wouldn't exist without the opposite of love. It's the polarity of life. Just know to then go back up. Just remind yourself constantly that to go back up, because that's
Yeah.
where the greatest joy is going to lie, when you're in that high vibrational state. And it's nice to have a community, obviously, to help us
Yeah.
continuously remind us to go back up. That's friendship,
Yes.
it's true connection.
Yes. That gives me an idea. You should create like a Facebook group or like an Instagram group or I don't know, something, social media for like all the people that you meet through these readings that you feel are positive people or might need some positive reassurance, and we can all, I don't know.
Yeah, I would love to. This is just the beginning for me. Like I'm just trying to, I just started doing readings, like you're my second reading. So, it just brings me joy and to just see people like truly connecting with their soul, like truly helping them out. Like I see you're doing well in your journey. I can just feel it. But there's so many young people who they're truly struggling. Like they cannot get through their challenges. And so eventually I know that I will be a huge, I feel like I'll be able to help them out in some way. Obviously, I'm still learning, so I don't know everything.
Right. No, you know so much already.
I'm trying.
You're going to be great. I can feel it. You're doing great as well.
Thank you. But yeah.
Well,
So
thank
you
you so
have this reading. I'll send you the recording. And if
much.
you have any other questions, you can just let me know.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. Have a nice day.
You too. All right, bye.
Bye.